Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the Russia and Ukraine war, and I'm sorry I'm late today, but I assure you that it's for good reason. I was working on something special for you guys this morning. I've got a video coming out at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. It's a special video for you guys that I personally made, and I hope for that you will forgive me in regards to being late today. So let's go ahead and get into the news. We're going to talk about Belarus today. We're going to talk about Russia, and we're going to talk about Ukraine. I've got multiple updates coming out from each country, but one of the biggest things we heard about here in the last 24 hours is Belarus having to shoot down Russian drones over their territory. Now, apparently this is the first confirmed report that Russia has had to do this. They had to scramble some fighter jets over their territory. I think it was over the town or city of Gomel, I think is how it's pronounced. It starts with a G, but I think it's pronounced Gomel or Gomel. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But apparently we had Russian drones flying near this town that had to be shot down by Belarusian fighter jets. And we've got pictures showing one of these drones for sure crashing into some building or like a shed or something like that. And I'm going to be showing you guys that here in a minute. But this video footage that you're watching is apparently a Russian drone being shot down. Now, these were obviously drones that were fired from Russian territory that crossed over Belarusian airspace that were supposed to be supposedly heading to Ukraine. And looks like the Belarusians had to shoot these things down. Now, we have had reports, I think it was on like August 29th, that Russian drones had crossed into their territory previously. And from what I understand, they either tried to shoot these down or maybe they didn't. But we know for sure this is the first confirmed report of Belarus having to shoot down Russian drones over their territory. So even Russia's ally coming under attack by Russian drones as well. We've heard of drones flying into Poland recently. I talked about that probably about a week or two ago. I've got an update regarding that as well today. And also Romania coming under attack by Russian drones. So clearly Russia's just throwing these things all over the place. And obviously there's so many drones being launched everywhere. They can't maintain all these. So also, we've got reports of the port city of, I'm going to butcher this name, I always do, Novorossiysk, I'm going to call it that. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, my apologies. But this is a port city down near the Black Sea or the Sea of Azov, and it came under attack by Ukrainian Magura V5 naval drones, okay? These are unmanned surface vessels that float on the water. It's like a small boat that's unmanned, usually has an explosive on it, and they try to crash these into ships. We've seen Ukraine use a lot of these down near Crimea with the Black Sea Fleet. And from what I heard, there may have been some Black Sea Fleet ships from Russia over near this town of Novorossiysk. And apparently that's why Ukraine was targeting it. So I've got some information regarding that today as well. So let's go ahead and hop on over to X so I can start giving you guys some of these updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine. So let's start with Belarus first. So Vicegrad24 reporting, breaking, for the first time, Belarusian fighter jets have shot down Russian suicide drones crossing through Belarusian airspace to hit targets in Ukraine. 2 drones were downed early this morning. Okay, so we've got reports of 2 being shot down. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video. We can clearly see this drone falling after it was shot down over the skies of Belarus. Take a look.
Пиздец, там, короче, что-то падает. Только что был взрыв какой-то. По всей видимости, там взорвался то ли вертолет, блядь, то ли самолет. Пиздец, там, короче, что-то падает.
Okay, so there we go. We can clearly see this drone falling out of the sky. Somebody was recording this inside of Belarus as it was falling to the ground. So clearly it was shot down by Belarusian fighter jets. So we've got some other updates here as well. So take a look at this from Nexta in Gomel. A warehouse caught fire because of the fall of a downed Shaheed. Okay, and it says, fortunately, no one was injured. The fire was quickly extinguished by the operational services. This time it was lucky, but if Russian drones continue to fly into the airspace of Belarus with the same regularity, it is not excluded that the drone or its debris may hit a residential building and cause casualties among civilians. So clearly Belarus is worried about this. Here's some damage from one of these drones that fell, striking this building. Here's another picture as well that we could see massive damage to this building. I don't know what kind of building this is. It looks more like a shed or something like that. Some sort of storage warehouse or something. Yeah, clearly major damage here just from this drone falling out of the sky after it was shot down. So Belarus is definitely concerned with these drones falling in their territory. And again, from what we understand, these were Russian drones entering the territory of Belarus, and they had to shoot these down. So also, I pulled up a map just to kind of show you guys. We'll go full screen just for a moment. Approximately where this took place at. So Ukraine is here, here's Belarus, and here's Russia. So on the southeast corner, down here is, I don't know if it's Gomel or Homel. I'm assuming it's Homel. But this is a pretty good sized town, okay? We can see it's pretty close to the Ukrainian border and also the border of Russia. And I believe this is the Bryansk region right here. And this is around where this attack took place when these drones were coming in near this city. And it makes sense, you know, if Russia's firing these from maybe in the Smolensk region and they're having to cross over Belarusian territory, or maybe they're flying from much further up, maybe from the Ver region over here, okay? So clearly they had to shoot these things down, and this is not the first time we have had confirmation of drones coming from Russia flying into Belarus as well, okay? This is multiple times this has happened, but definitely more recently than in the past. So also, from Nexta, breaking, Belarusian authorities for the first time officially reacted to the shooting down of kamikaze drones on the territory of the country. Tonight, September 5th, a fact of violation of the state border of the Republic of Belarus in the airspace, presumably by unmanned aerial vehicles, was recorded. A decision was made to destroy it. Timely actions on the duty or on-duty air defense forces destroyed all the targets of the intruders. A check is being conducted on this fact, said Belarusian Defense Ministry. Okay, so here's a picture of this location. I'm assuming this is where the Belarusian Defense Ministry is at. And yeah, so they're coming out and claiming they had to shoot these things down as these drones were entering their airspace. So very interesting that we are seeing these drones flying into Belarus. But again, we've seen Russian drones flying into Poland, flying into Romania. So they seem to be pretty reckless when they're using these things. And that's basically what we're showing here coming from Belarus. So also we're going to move on now and talk about the Russian city of Novorossiysk. And it says here from Bliskovka that Novorossiysk was attacked by surface drones, says Russian media. Shooting and explosions were heard for several hours. It is noted that the Russians moved the remains of the Black Sea Fleet there. Local channels report that all beaches are closed to the public today. So from what I understand, this was a pretty big attack with Ukrainian Magura V5 naval drones. And we're going to be able to see here in multiple videos, there's actually 4 videos here we're going to check out. And we can hear lots and lots of gunfire in the background. And I'm sure the residents here were not sleeping very well last night as the Russian forces were trying to repel a pretty massive attack on the town of Novorossiysk. So let's take a look at this first video here, and then we'll talk about it after.
Флаг не видно, да, ни хрена?
Okay, that's about a minute in. We'll go ahead and pause it now, as that's mainly what we're going to see here in this video is just lots of gunfire. We can definitely see all these tracers heading out to the ocean over here, targeting, from what I understand, is probably these Magura V5 drones. And also, towards the beginning of this video, we could see smoke over here as well. I wonder if this town was coming under attack by UAV drones as well, so aerial drones, considering that there's lots of smoke. That might be trails from Russia's air defense systems over here as well. If that's not from the air defense systems, you guys let me know what you think that might be down below. But it was definitely something that I was thinking. But as we can see here, definitely seems to be a pretty major attack on the port city here of Novorossiysk. I'm probably butchering that name again, but that's the best that we can do here. So let's go ahead and show you a couple more videos here. And we'll take a look at these as well. We'll go ahead and pause that again right there. I don't want to leave you guys hanging just watching that forever. But it's kind of hard to tell what we're seeing here. This video seems to be very blurry, but we can see again these tracers heading this direction out towards the ocean. And I'm not sure if these are air defense missiles hovering over here. I'm not sure what that is at all. It kind of looks like it could be air defense missiles because we can also see the trails that are following behind them as well. So pretty crazy to see that. Again, looks like to be a very big attack here in this town. So one more video here. Let's take a look. Okay, so this video doesn't really have any footage, but we can definitely hear that gunfire in the background. I think we've got one more video to check out as well. Let's take a look at this. Okay, now this video is interesting because this appears to be some sort of like security camera footage here inside the city. And I noticed that there's no cars or anything moving. So I don't know if this is a picture we're looking at. It's really hard to tell. It could be a picture as the background. That, or maybe it's really late in the morning where no one's out driving around. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But in this video, we can definitely hear, again, that gunfire in the distance as it's probably happening further away over there next to the water. So very crazy to see this, guys. I've also got an article that I pulled up to kind of share some extra information with you. We'll go full screen on that real quick. This is from Ukrainska Pravda. It says Russian authorities claim naval drones attacked Novorossiysk overnight. And this came out today, Thursday, September 5th, 2024. And it says right here, Andrei Kravchenko, mayor of Novorossiysk, Russia, has claimed that naval drones attacked the city on the night of the 4th and 5th of September. And it says the source here was Kravchenko on Telegram-based Russian news outlet Astra, and the quote was, "An attack by uncrewed surface vessels is being repelled. A special note to residents of the first shoreline, do not go outside, stay inside a room with no windows." And the details was the sounds of gunfire rang out in the city. So here's a picture of one of those Magura V5 drones that Ukraine has been using. And these are a lot of the drones that Ukraine has supposedly struck lots of Russian warships. And that's why we don't see a lot of the Russian warships down in Crimea anymore. They used to dock down there in Crimea, especially like near Sevastopol. And after a lot of these major hits were happening with these Magura V5 drones on patrol boats, lots of Russian warships that was supposedly being reported, all of a sudden we started to see the Black Sea Fleet pull away from Crimea. And these are the Magura V5 drones that are causing that damage. So supposedly these are what attacked Novorossiysk just last night. Okay, so also we're going to move on now to Azov South. Ukraine managed to stop the advance of the Russian armed forces in the Pokrovsk direction. Over the past 6 days, they have not advanced a single meter. Okay, so General Oleksandr Syrsky supposedly reported this today. This is him right here. Here's Volodymyr Zelenskyy as well, saying that in Pokrovsk, we've been talking about that. That's a key eastern city near the Donetsk region on the eastern side of Ukraine that the Russians supposedly were getting closer and closer to. They've also evacuated majority of the people out of this city. The Ukrainians have, that is. And from what we're hearing from General Syrsky is that the Russians have been stopped in this direction. So very interesting news because we were hearing the Russians continuously pressing on the Eastern Front. And he's saying that their tactics are starting to work, okay? That whatever tactics they're deploying over there on the Eastern Front, it's working to stop the Russians right now. So that's good news for Ukraine, right? So let's go ahead and move on to the next update now. Now in regards to Poland, this from Nexta. Poland did not find the drone that flew into its territory in August, and on September 4th, the search was called off. So yesterday, looks like they called off this search trying to find this drone for well over a week now, I want to say. We reported on this close to 2 weeks ago, actually, that a drone supposedly flew either through Ukraine on over to Poland, crossing into their airspace. They did not shoot this drone down, and supposedly it may have crashed in their territory. So they sent out multiple teams and a helicopter to go look for this thing. Looks like they haven't been able to locate it, and they're coming out and saying they have called the search off. So the Polish military searched the area where the drone may have landed for 10 days with the support of mounted units, helicopters, and UAVs, and hunters. Hunters assisted in the search. In total, more than 200 square kilometers were searched. The military does not rule out that the object may not have fallen in Poland, but may have flown further away or turned back, and the radar systems did not notice it. So who knows what really happened here, but according to Poland, they're saying they weren't able to locate this thing. Maybe some random farmer or something will find it crashed on their territory, or maybe in a forest somewhere later on. But if we get more information regarding this, I'll let you guys know. But it looks like they weren't able to find that drone that did cross into their territory. Also from Nexta, Lithuania has installed so-called dragon's teeth in front of a bridge on the border with Russia. This is a precautionary step to ensure more effective defense, the Republic's defense ministry said. So we've seen, I think it was Estonia or Latvia. I want to say it was Estonia more recently, probably in like the last year, that was installing dragon's teeth on their border. Now we're starting to see Lithuania installing a lot more dragon's teeth as well. And also in Lithuania, I reported to you guys several weeks back that Germany was planning to build a major base inside of Lithuania, close to the border actually, not too far from Vilnius, their capital. So obviously they're going to need major defenses now too if they're going to have this German base there. And this is also kind of scary because that shows more the tensions between Russia and NATO, especially the Baltic nations. They've been placing a lot of these dragon's teeth. So this was a photo coming out from Lithuania. Also, now we're going to talk about Volodymyr Zelenskyy. I've got like a couple clips here from him. This is the interview he was in just the other day. I talked to you guys about Volodymyr Zelenskyy, mentioning that in the Kursk region, they want to hold that territory and they may hold it indefinitely. I did a whole video on that just the other day. Well, this is that same interview. I've got a couple clips of him discussing some other things that I thought you should know about. So United 24 Media, Zelenskyy says, Putin is more obsessed with capturing Ukraine than protecting Russia. This is his idea to destroy us, totally destroy Ukraine and Ukrainians. So kind of what he's saying here, from what I understand, is that Russia or Vladimir Putin is more concerned about capturing Ukrainian territory than he is protecting the Kursk region. We've heard Zelenskyy come out and say that before. So he's kind of just basically reiterating that same claim during this interview. It's 55 seconds. Take a look.
Дуже важливий момент, який також спрацював психологічно на російське суспільство, що Путіну абсолютно начхать на те, що буде з Курском. У нього попереду лише ціль. Ціль – продовжувати війну. Армія не така міцна у нього. А він всіх і що це не операція, не якесь там СВО, як він говорить. Це реальна війна. І всі свої бойові частини, всі свої сили він кинув в Україну. Це повномасштабна війна. Це також ця операція довела.
So are you saying that he's more obsessed, focused on capturing Ukraine
Yes.
than he is with protecting Russia?
Yes. This is his idea, to destroy us. Totally destroy Ukraine and Ukrainians. Дуже важливий момент.
What an interesting statement coming from Volodymyr Zelenskyy, right? And definitely he may have some merit behind what he's saying. I would agree with certain things that he's saying as well. But regardless, Volodymyr Zelenskyy basically saying here that Russia's committing fully to this war in Ukraine. Their goal is to demolish Ukraine and destroy them completely as a nation. And he doesn't care, Vladimir Putin does not care about the Kursk region and his own citizens over there. He's more worried about this military operation in Ukraine. He even comes out and says it's a full-scale war. This is not a special military operation, as Vladimir Putin claims that it is. So definitely some major statements coming out here from Volodymyr Zelenskyy. I've got one more thing as well regarding him while he was during this interview from War Translator Dmitry. My plan for Ukraine's victory is solely aimed at forcing Russia to end the war, says President Zelenskyy. So he's coming out basically saying that his job right now is try to get Russia to the drawing table and negotiate with Ukraine and try to end this war. We've heard him coming out and saying that for months now. He even mentioned just a couple months back that Ukraine was like very low on soldiers. Many of them they had dead and wounded on the battlefield. I've talked a lot about that, and he's reiterating his claim here, stating that Ukraine needs to come to the negotiating table with Russia and end this war. So take a look at this as well.
Дивіться, з нашого боку ми точно хочемо закінчення війни. Абсолютно. І план перемоги мій. Він направлений суто на те, щоб змусити Росію закінчити війну. Змусити їх зрозуміти, що це безглузде. Те, що вони натворили. Змусити їх прийняти статут ООН, прийняти правила світу. Ось на що направлений мій план. Да, і все. Заради цього. Але при цьому він направлений на посилення України, максимальне посилення України для того, щоб змусити Росію. Не для того, щось використовувати всі ті сили, які у тебе є, а змусити їх закінчити війну. Дивіться, з нашого боку.
Okay, so I thought this was an interesting clip too, because he makes two key points here. He says that point number one is basically to maximize the strengthening of Ukraine, strengthen their air defenses, strengthen their military, strengthen themselves as a country, and then also at the same time force Russia to end this war. Okay, and we've talked a lot about that. Like, for example, they're building all these ballistic missiles right now. They're building this Palinitsia drone that supposedly is ready to go and to be deployed, but they said they've had some issues with funding in regards to that. So we know that major attacks are going to start happening inside of Russia at some point. We also talked recently about the JASSM missiles. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, or JASSM, joint to air surface standoff missiles that could be attached to F-16s in Ukraine, that are long-range strike capability missiles that they could use to launch inside of Russian territory. So there's lots of things that could be thrown at Russia here very soon, potentially forcing them to end this war, and maybe that's what he's talking about. And if not, let me know what you think down below. So let's go ahead and move on to our next update now from Noel Reports. Romanian President Klaus Iohannis has finally signed the decree for the transfer of the Patriot system to Ukraine. All that is now left is the transfer itself. So a Patriot missile system is going to be going to Ukraine very soon, coming from Romania. I reported that to you guys just the other day, that their parliament had apparently approved it. Now their president has signed the decree to send this thing over. Now all they have left is to transfer it to Ukraine. So big news for Ukraine getting a Patriot missile system once again. But I'm pretty sure I've heard that they need probably at least 5 or more of these inside their country. But nonetheless, definitely a major upgrade for Ukraine. Also from Azov South, NATO is seriously discussing the use of long-range missiles by Ukraine so that Ukraine has the opportunity to reach military facilities on the territory of the Russian Federation, says Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO. Now, this is big too, okay? We're starting to hear NATO coming out, Jens Stoltenberg mentioning that Ukraine is trying to push for long-range weapons use. I'm pretty sure he's come out many times too and said that he believes that Ukraine needs to have the ability to strike Russian airfields and use the weapons that they're given at their own discretion. So it really comes down to just allowing Ukraine to do so, giving them the permission to strike these airfields and go after targets inside of Russian territory. And once that comes, that's when we're going to start seeing major attacks. And I just reported to you guys last night that Russia's foreign ministry coming out and warning against these strikes and saying that there will be an immediate response. Russia will respond immediately, possibly on Ukraine, or who knows, maybe on NATO. We have no idea what the response would actually be, but they are warning that there will be an immediate and severe response if these airfields are targeted with long-range weapons inside of Russian territory. So big news there. Also from Vicegrad 24, Ukraine using its new thermite drones again, targeting Russian positions in the Kursk region of Russia. So this video does have some sound, so unfortunately I can't play the sound, but we can take a look at the video footage. We've got yet another video of a Ukrainian drone dropping thermite all over a forest. This is actually in the Kursk region this time. We saw this being used on the Donetsk region as well. I showed you guys a video the other day of like a tree line that had thermite, molten thermite being dropped all over it. And they use small little quadcopter drones, okay? These are just tiny little drones, FPV drones that they've been using. They normally attach explosives to these. I've even seen a video of one having an AK-47 attached to it. I don't know how they were able to set that up, but I thought that was pretty insane. But these thermite drones are definitely being used right now, and they're very, very powerful. Obviously, if this thermite drops on you, it's going to damage you really bad, and it obviously starts these fires, so it can burn out Russian positions all over the forest inside of the Kursk region or maybe the Donetsk region. So I thought that was pretty insane to see these things in action. So also, let's move to our next update. From next, just in, Andrei Sybiga has been appointed as new foreign minister of Ukraine. The Rada has approved Sybiga as the new foreign minister. In recent months, he worked as the first deputy head of the Ukrainian foreign ministry, before which he was the deputy head of the Ukrainian president's office for several years. Ukraine's foreign ministry has been headed by Dmytro Kuleba since 2020. He submitted his resignation the day before. So here's Ukraine's new foreign minister taking the place of Dmytro Kuleba. I reported to you guys yesterday that he had resigned. So that was some pretty big news when that happened. There was multiple other government officials as well inside of Ukraine resigning at the same time. Some people were saying that they were rats fleeing from the sinking ship, but many of these positions are already being refilled right now. I've seen multiple reports of different positions being filled. So I'm sure this is more likely just a reshuffle of their government. And also due to some of the security failures in the country recently, it's going to put pressure on some of the previous members of their government, as obviously Ukraine's been coming under a massive attack by Russian missiles lately. So that's probably some of the pressure as well, forcing some of these leaders to resign. So also, in regards to Dmytro Kuleba from Nexta, Zelenskyy dismissed Foreign Minister Kuleba because he lacks the energy to promote the provision of arms among partners. I thought this was pretty interesting. This is Dmytro Kuleba right here, the former foreign minister of Ukraine. And yeah, so Zelenskyy coming out and saying that the reason why he dismissed Kuleba was because he lacks the energy to promote the provision of arms. Okay, so I'm thinking maybe this is something to do with them developing their new weapons, or maybe it's this whole push for trying to get NATO to allow them to strike Russian airfields. Who knows exactly what that could mean? It could mean different things. But they said there, or he said, Zelenskyy said, that he lacked the energy to promote the provision of arms. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our next update. This is an interesting story too, okay? And I'm going to talk a little bit about this in my surprise video later on today at 3 p.m. when that video comes out. But this was huge news that was starting to be leaked all over the internet yesterday. And I'm going to let you know right now, I'm going to not get too involved in this because it's a very political situation, but I just want to report to you what is going on, okay? So from Igor Sushko, breaking, Kremlin agents in the U.S. with millions of Twitter followers were paid $10 million by Russia to spread disinformation and rally support for convicted felon Trump on social media per indictment unsealed by the Department of Justice. And Tenet Media was the company that was targeted, based in Tennessee. Okay, so what I understand from this is multiple social media stars, okay, people that are very popular on the internet. Many of them would be considered right-leaning content creators, social media broadcasters, and they're being accused right now of being paid by Russia to spread disinformation or Russian propaganda all over, with their followers and all over social medias and YouTube and whatever it might be. And again, I'm trying not to get into this too much, but these are some of the names of the people that are being accused right now. And I will say some of these people I've actually watched before. I wouldn't say I'm exactly a fan of them or I watch them consistently, but I have seen some of these people and some of their videos before. So definitely a very interesting situation when it comes to this. And obviously we have the elections coming up very soon. So, I mean, I'm not going to get into this whole political talk when it comes to all this, but obviously this is a major situation right now, and a lot of people cover what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, and so do I. And this is exactly why I try to stay in the middle of everything, and I've told you guys this probably millions of times by now, that I don't stand for either side. I stand completely in the middle, and I try to be as less biased as I can be on either side. I try not to stand for Russia, try not to stand for Ukraine, and I try to just do my best to report what's happening on both sides so you can see what is happening with Russia, what is happening with Ukraine, and obviously with any conflict, even if it's Israel and Hamas, or Israel and Hezbollah, or North Korea and South Korea. If you've been following my channel long enough, you would understand that I definitely try my best to stay in the middle on topics and not get involved in the politics, and just simply try to report the news. But at the same time, I do like to throw some of my thoughts in there, some of my input on what I'm thinking, so that way we can generate a conversation down in the comment section, which I think is healthy. So let me know what you think in regards to this down below, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic. Also, from next, heavy fire broke out in the territory of the plastic plant in the Tula region of Russia. So we've got a fire breaking out here. We don't know how this fire began, but also in the Tula region, it's just north of Moscow, I believe. It's not too far away from Moscow. Or actually below Moscow, excuse me. It's like southeast of Moscow, if I'm not mistaken. It's not too far away, though, and it's just over the Kursk region. So I don't know if maybe this thing got attacked by a drone. Who knows what happened here? We are waiting for those details, but we definitely have a major fire here at the plastic plant. And from what I understand, they produce rubbers here, like different rubber materials. So there's obviously going to be oil and stuff like that here. And then also they produce like plastic products, from what I understand. So take a look at this.
Ну это склад был.
Okay, so this fire doesn't appear to be too large. I mean, it does look like to appear like as a decent sized fire, but the reason why I'm saying that is I did see some other video footage coming out showing this thing expanding. It did get much worse after this took place, but this was like towards the beginning of this fire when it really started to break out. And again, we don't know all the details on why this plastic manufacturing plant came under attack or catching on fire for that, rather. But if we get more information regarding this plant, I will definitely release that to you guys. But very interesting that we're seeing this happening over in Russia as well. Also, now we're going to talk about Vladimir Putin a little bit before I get you guys out of here. This is from Bricks News. Just in, Vladimir Putin says Russia supports Kamala Harris over Donald Trump in the presidential election because she's been endorsed by Biden. Biden was our favorite, but he dropped out of the race. He recommended that all his supporters support Harris, so we will too. Okay, so Vladimir Putin coming out and saying that he supports Kamala Harris, and I'm assuming not Donald Trump. We do know that Donald Trump wants to try to end this war, and if Kamala Harris gets in, my best guess is the war will not end, because she's come out many times and said that she would support Ukraine to the very end. And if Russia's plan is to keep this war going, leading into the future, let's say months or years down the line, such as what Zelenskyy was saying, then this would be the perfect candidate for him, right? But obviously there could be some other reasons, political reasons in the background for why he would support Kamala Harris. But we do know many times I've heard Vladimir Putin come out and mention that he supported President Biden and that he supported him because he was old school. And obviously Kamala Harris was right under him as vice president. So maybe she has some of the same goals, same ideas and views and beliefs. So maybe she's much easier to work with in terms of what's happening with this war in Ukraine. So maybe it will benefit him in the end. Okay. So also from DD Geopolitics, Putin says that one of the Nord Stream pipelines is still in working order, but for some reason, Europe does not want gas to run through it. However, they are perfectly happy with Russian gas being delivered through Ukrainian and Turkish pipelines. So this was Vladimir Putin speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum in Russia. I think it was like southeastern Russia. And he was talking about these pipelines that apparently there's one of them still operational, one of the Nord Stream pipelines, and Europe doesn't want to use it, but they're willing to take Russian gas being delivered through Ukraine and Turkish pipelines. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Take a look at what he has to say.
Кстати говоря, одна-то существует, она в рабочем состоянии. Что мешает тому же правительству Германии кнопку нажать, договориться с нами и включить. Сколько это? 25 миллиардов кубических метров по одной нитке. 27,5 миллиардов кубических метров газа тут же пошло бы в Европу, в Германию. Почему они этого не делают, я не понимаю. Получать через территорию Украины могут, получать через турецкий поток могут, а по нитке, которая идет по дну Балтийского моря, не могут. Ну, на мой взгляд, это какая-то деформация, значит, профессиональная, шизофрения, чушь просто. Почему? Ну не хотят, не надо. Мы будем наращивать значит, наши поставки в другие регионы мира. Кстати говоря, одна-то существует.
Okay, so I thought this was an interesting video, how he mentions that, the West is not willing to receive their gas, their Russian gas through the pipeline that runs under the Baltic Sea, but they're willing to take the gas that goes through the pipelines that run through Ukraine and the Turkish pipelines. So very, very interesting situation why they would do that. Let me know what you think down below, why the West would only do that. The only thing that I can think of is, I'm not an economist or anything like that, but it seems like maybe it would probably cost more money to travel through other countries. Maybe in the end, forcing Russia to maybe make less of a profit off of this gas, and maybe just streamlining it, through the Baltic Sea would be much cheaper. And maybe they don't want Russia to gain off of that. That's just kind of something that I was thinking. But other than that, I'm not really sure why the West would do this. But he does have a point there, and it's interesting what he's thinking. So also, one last thing I want to show you guys from Mario Naval. Putin, we're supporting Kamala just like Biden recommended. If we can name a favorite candidate, it used to be Joe Biden, but now he's not participating in the election, and he recommended to his allies to support Miss Harris. So that is what we are going to do. So this was him at the conference just yesterday, basically saying that he supports Kamala Harris. So I wanted to show you this directly of what he has to say.
That if we can name a favorite candidate, it used to be Joe Biden, but now he is not participating in the election campaign, and he recommended all his allies to support Ms. Harris. So that is what we are going to do. So it was, well, he said that we should, that is why we should also do that. Well, her laugh, she's laughing, her laugh is so fascinating. It means that everything is good, and if everything is good, it means that, for instance, if we're speaking about Joe Biden, there are so many sanctions against Russia introduced, and if everything is good with Ms. Harris, maybe she'll refrain herself from such measures, or maybe she'll change them. So in the end, it will be the choice of the U.S. people, and we will respect this choice.
All right, very, very interesting, right? Coming out from Vladimir Putin. I thought I'd share that with you guys, as that appears to be his stance, that he is supportive of Kamala Harris and not so much Donald Trump. I mean, like I said, the only main reason why I could think he would support Kamala Harris over Donald Trump is we know Donald Trump will probably put an end to this war, at least attempt to, and maybe he doesn't want that pressure on his plate if Donald Trump ends up winning the election. But regardless, we'll have to see who really wins. I mean, it's crazy to think we're just about 2 months away in the United States to the elections inside the United States, and to find out who it's going to be. Is it going to be Kamala Harris, or is it going to be Donald Trump winning the election as president? So I hope you guys got something out of this update. Just kind of wanted to share some different things happening on all sides with Russia and Ukraine, and also Belarus coming under attack by those drones. But that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope y'all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.